Sure. I'll start that off then. Bullying, something that I've encountered um, in school as a uh, first grade, all the way to high school, and then joining the military. It even happens out there in life, walking the streets. Uh, um, it's affected me in a way of PTSD wise. I have multiple uh, acute PTSD syndromes that uh, pop up for a variety of reasons. Bullying being one of them. I've never um, been able to get past why can't everybody just be good to each other, and why are people being mean to me? Because being assaulted, blindsided, punched in the face, or you don't even know anybody, you're the new kid at school and you just want to make some friends and hang out, and in later years you want to hang out and drink, and in your younger years you want to hang out and play in the jungle gym. um, excuse me. But moving beyond the problems, I do want to focus on the solutions. Um, so it really doesn't have to be about me or my circumstances. I do want to hear definitely what other people have to say for traumatic experiences from bullying. There's a variety of social dysfunctions that we have as humans where we can do better by each other. And I think that is definitely what this group is about, because you have to get it out and talk to people and get feedback that helps you build up from being broken down. That's just my opinion as just a humble servant to the universe and my fellow human. I really don't have a whole lot of stories that I want to talk about that, because it is a little traumatic, and it's been enough about me. I'd rather hear from other people.
Yeah, hi, I am Dora with Augur Media and trying to find my camera there. There we go. Um, gotta love angles. Anyways, one of the things that is really proliferant both in physical world and in online life is bullying of members of the LGBT community, minority groups, anybody who's different. That's the thing. And what is different, anyways? But you got people that will just walk up and physically assault people entirely on the premise of a preconceived notion. Like it's ridiculous. It's absolutely just horrid that people can do that to others. And it comes from, as Matthew had typed out a little bit earlier, it's insecurities in themselves. How much of it stems from them themselves being bullied in some way, shape, or form, and then they take it out on others because they don't have a catharsis, they don't have an understanding. And as I go to many, many, many different things, with community support and therapy, people can overcome all of those types of things. But the first steps that they have to do is understand that there's an issue. I guess. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm still here. Thanks. I'm trying to figure out my camera. It says I'm in um, driving mode. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I suffered a lot with bullying as a kid growing up, and I met a woman who had been sex trafficked as a child. Um, and so there was a lot of PTSD from that. But in many ways, I found that it was very similar to the bullying. Um, I've kind of come to the conclusion over the years that bullying is about control and manipulation. And so, uh, for myself, when I learned, um, one, as I healed from the trauma, um, it took that, and as she was healed from the traumas of her past, it took what I call a sign off our back. While we were living in the trauma, those people who were bullying or controlling and manipulative could pick up on that frequency so fast it wasn't funny. She used to walk into a room of people and she would say she could know who was an abuser, who is an abuser, or who would be abusing in the future. Had that possibility. She literally could pick up on the frequencies. And in 37 years, I never knew her to be wrong. And so as we began to heal and as I began to heal, I realized that I wasn't putting out the same frequency. And so I think a big part of the bullying is understanding how the bully's mindset works so that we can actually be in a place where we're not caught in that or trapped in it. So yeah, I'm really glad to hear what people have to think tonight and say, and I'm even interested in hearing some of their stories. It's been a big thing over the years that my kids suffered it some until I actually learned how to deal with it my own self, and then I was able to teach them. So, love to hear all your information.
Sorry, I'm dealing with my mom right now. She's being a jerk to me. My name is Matt. I'm an activist from the New England area, and I fight for justice for all oppressed peoples. And I am pleased to be here tonight and hear everyone's thoughts on bullying. I was a victim myself of bullying from most of grade school up into high school, and I fought through it. I found some strong friends. I found some people that encouraged me to think highly of myself rather than lowly of myself, and it's gotten me pretty far in life. So it's nice to meet all of you.
Hello. Can you hear me? So my name is Chaz Neal. I am based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's an echo tonight, huh? Based out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, boots on the ground. Basically, I love what we're doing here. You know, this is our eighth episode.
Oh no, where'd he go?
Hello? That it was the 7th. It says episode 7.
There's a hidden episode. It happened, but it didn't get a number.
It
was a
doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, it does matter, but who's counting, right? We're
like
doing
the
episodes.
doctors.
This is good.
How many doctors were there? We don't know. We don't even know anymore.
How do I put my hand up?
There you are.
Oh, sorry, cut out. Was that for me?
Yeah, you said me? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Christine. And I was bullied in 6th, 7th, 8th, and not so much 9th grade. So I have several things that, I could talk about as far as being bullied. But as far as intros, yeah. I mean, I was here last week. I don't know. I've got a lot I could talk about. So let me know what you want to hear.
Hi, good evening. Welcome, everybody. My name is David Allen Moon from Dave Moon TV up here in British Columbia, Canada. I want to talk a little bit about bullying. I'm an independent streamer, a researcher, and I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to see all of you guys here as well. Thank you.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got 8. Well, since you mentioned it, it helps refresh my memory, things that we've discussed privately and whatnot, or wherever. It's been difficult to really come out with the things that have happened to me, because some people are like, yeah, whatever. Nobody really cares. Has been part of it, and I love telling stories, because what I'm telling is the truth. It's about me. I'm 100% real. Things have happened to me that are absolutely amazing, and that other things that are traumatic. And wearing a uniform, we as here occupiers, or here in America, certain groups of people target the police because they're fucking assholes. On the other hand, I've met some cops that have been really helpful and given me a leeway for a couple of reasons. One maybe being that I'm a veteran. The other one might be because they're a white guy and I look like a white guy. But the thing is I've also been targeted because I'm look like a white guy. People said, "You're not welcome here." White guy, white man, derogatory terms. It sparks emotion, and I can feel that emotion, because what have white men done throughout the last couple thousand years? They've conquered, they've dominated, and forced opinions and lifestyles upon other people. And it is really sad, because it's like somebody saying somebody's German, that they're a bad person because they're from Germany, because of the atrocities that happened during World War II. But I myself am part German, and I'm ashamed of what humanity has become. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or brown, purple, yellow, green, Kermit the freaking frog. People have done wrong, and we can't do anything about the history in the past, but we can't forget it and erase our monuments. And we also can't move forward with the ignorance of, that none of us were part of a lot of the things that happened back then, but we've all had our personal instances of feeling that segregation, that separation, that oddity of being the singled out, the assaulted, a victim, the survivor, because we're all survivors. And I try to think positively in this, because I've survived an avalanche. I've survived being shot at. I've survived having not just being shot at, but a gun to my head. Multiple different instances of life and death survival. And I watch things like Jimmy Chin's Adventures, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I wasn't in an avalanche. They're showing the Red Bull team. I'm nobody special, but I'm alive. And that is what I cherish the most. And having friends like you, that we can get out here and talk about it and share not only our personal instances, but how to overcome that. Because being a survivor and teaching other people how to get past the thoughts of suicide, how to escape a situation that they wouldn't expect themselves to be in, because they've got just a little bit of knowledge. And most people don't have this survival knowledge that the ancestors did, and especially the indigenous people that lived off the land. I have a great affinity for trying to return Turtle Island to being Turtle Island. That is something that is a dream. It probably will never happen. And, but the rebellion is there. There are thousands of people out there that are feeling the squash moment right now. I'm seeing homelessness on the rise, and being homeless and living on the streets. That's another bullying trauma, because if you're in the wrong neighborhood at the wrong time of night, you might have some problems. And narrowly escaping with my life and maybe a loss of some things, I would rather lose some things than my life or be injured. So sometimes when it's time to go and you're losing materials because people are like, yeah, we're keeping this, but you got to go. And so you just leave, because what are you going to do? Fight 6 people that might have guns and knives in the middle of wherever? I'm not going to name any places, but I've been in quite a few of those situations where survival, not just from the heart and the mind and the body, it has to be together. You have to want to survive. You have to think you can survive, and you have to know you can, because you've been through some tough shit. And I see a bunch of survivors here, the people that have talked to in previous, what are these webinars? I'm really happy to have met all of you, and I hope we can stay in touch, because I'd like to do some traveling and meet you in person. I do documentary work. I have a variety of skills, and I'm trying to look towards the future to being positive rather than the traumas of the past. And since I'm done babbling and did my little promo speech, I'd like to hear from other people. Going through my traumas is one of those things that sometimes it's a little more difficult to explain the situation. I think we've all been there, and now's not the time for me to showcase some of the things that are traumatic. I really would like to hear from other people. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. So I started the website back in 2016. I was having some issues in our local school with bullying, and they just wouldn't listen. And all they would do is talk. And, you know, when you talk to a child doesn't have the mind of an adult, and so they retaliate. And so it was a big issue in our school, but the school was not acknowledging it. I went ahead and I made a page. It was beginning when I first made it, it was to pretty much let our people in our community know that we had an issue in the schools, that the school was not paying attention to it, and that I was going to start a petition and go to the school board. The school, I got about 300 signatures. The school turned me down. They said that they didn't need me to help them with a bullying program, and that they told my daughter that she should just ignore it. Just ignore them. That is going to take care of everything. That's what they kept saying and kept saying. And so, long story short, even the parents, there's no parenting in the home. So, I mean, these are behaviors sometimes that are taught at home and they don't even realize. Sometimes I feel like these kids, they go through this at home, and sometimes they don't even realize that they're bullying somebody else because they're so used to that trait being at home happening to them, they don't even realize it. And, you know, I've seen some videos on TikTok too, where the parents, it's a song about the parent telling the child that don't let them mess with you or beat them up. And sometimes I feel like violence isn't always the answer because that makes it worse. But at the same time, you know, some of these kids who aren't mentally strong, that don't understand how to defend themselves, they end up in situations where they get depressed and they go to suicide. My daughter, I have a 15-year-old who last year before school let out, about 2 weeks before school let out, she tried to commit suicide. I put her in a facility. Somehow somebody got wind of it. Well, I live in a small town. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody knows everything. Somebody got wind of it, got back to the school. The girls were actually messaging her throughout the time that she was in the hospital. The day that she got out the hospital, all them texts just started flowing back through to her phone because she turned it on. And it was a bunch of bullying, talking about she was a psycho and crazy and all this other stuff. And it depressed her even more. So she started to have a setback and didn't even want to go back to school. We tried to get the school to let us homeschool for the last week. They agreed that it was fine. About a few days later, she tried to slit her wrist with scissors. One of the girls were messing with her through social media on the Snapchat, and she tried to kill herself again. I took her to emergency counseling, you know, and she's just been dealing with this through the summer. They were making like fake profiles and all kinds of stuff, and just trying to bully her through different profiles. They made an Instagram account, started making comments about her on Instagram, calling it the T channel. And, you know, these kids, they feed into that negative energy. And so anyways, her mental health has gone downhill bad. I have her in counseling every week, things like that. We actually had a bonfire for our homecoming game the other night, and they were messing with her at the bonfire, and she got depressed, and just that whole night she just cried. And then Friday night we had our homecoming game, and again they were messing with her again at the homecoming game. I was working the concession stand trying to help the school out. I had a friend that was running it, and so I was trying to help, but I ended up having to leave early to take her home. She went to her room. When she's depressed, she doesn't want nobody bothering her. She came to my room, and I'm kind of glad, you know, I'm proud of her that she has been through enough therapy that she spoke up, because she said that she was wanting to take a whole bottle of pills, of her antidepressants, to try to kill herself. That she saw the people who she thought were her friends having fun without her, and then the other ones who don't like her at school and were bullying her were taunting her at the game, and she just felt like she has no friends. I had to pull her out of school. I have to homeschool her because they were threatening to jump her at school. And so she just with them threatening to jump her, not being able to go to school, not having any friends, her depressions just went downhill. And I feel like my hands are tied. I don't know what else to do to help her, you know? And these kids who, like her, who are going through this depression, and then these other kids that are bullying them, it just makes them sadder and sadder. Well, my page, Stop Bullying in the Schools, I changed the name to that because we were getting people all over the United States on our page. Now we have people from all different countries on my page as well. And I tell everybody, you know, I'm not a professional. I'm not a counselor. I'm just a parent, and my co-admin on there, Adrienne Cloud, she's another parent who's dealing with bullying with her children in the schools. And we're just trying to build this support group so people can have a place to tell their story. And maybe somebody who's went through it can, you know, give them advice or give them words of support and encouragement, because we all need encouragement and we all need support. Even, you know, when a parent sees their child suffering like that, you know, it brings them down as well. But, you know, that's all we can do is just be there to support each other and try to, and hope that one day, you know, there's something that'll help us. I know I was speaking to a motivational speaker last week, Lamont Banks, and he was telling me about a thing called David's Law. I was not aware of that law that says that the school has to protect your children mentally and physically to where they can function in school. And if they're not able to protect your children in that way, then they're supposed to provide you with all the resources that your child needs to be able to do schooling. So I just found out about that. I've been working with them to see if there's something that I can do to get some more pressure on the school, because it's going on only in the schools, and the police won't get involved because unless the school gets them involved. So it's just, and it's gotten so worse. I remember back in the day when we were bullied in school, it was just, oh, ugly, oh, witch, or something like that, calling each other names and stuff like that. But we never, well, I know when I was in school, I never thought about the suicide aspect of it until, you know, I started dealing with it on my own with my kids. And now they're wanting to, the 15-year-old has tried 3 times to commit suicide because these girls just won't leave her alone. Well, the guy that I was on his podcast the other night, they had reached out to me as well, and I was on his podcast for ACJ Radio. AJC Radio, Just Cause Radio. They are actually wanting to be a family advocate for me and meet with the school and put pressure on the school to see if they can help me to get them to enforce the rules more and maybe pay attention a little bit more, because myself as a voice, they don't listen. And then they just talk and it goes all over again. It's just like a repeated cycle. So I'm very, very hopeful that this speaker is able to help me and other families as well. I have him on my Facebook page. People can look him up, and the other non-profit organization that does help with bullying as well is on my page. It can be found on there. And if we can just help a couple kids, it's all worth it. You're welcome. And sorry I couldn't be on longer, but I'm at work. I took a lunch break to come on and come and speak with you guys. And I think it's a wonderful thing that y'all are doing, raising awareness and just trying to help prevent the bullying that's going on and bringing awareness to it. I appreciate it, you guys.
I just wanted to say something. Hi, Heather. If you can I just have 1 minute? My name is Chaz, and I'm in with what's called the Leon Block, and I would love to have you on our show. I will connect with you sometime in the next couple of days and see what works for you, but I would love to have a more in-depth conversation about what you do. I think they would be great for the people to hear. So thank you for joining us tonight, and I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Sorry I couldn't stay on longer. I would look forward to hearing from you. Y'all have a wonderful night.
There we go. As in, I think everybody back in high school actually had me figured out before I even had me figured out, because a lot of the bullying in retrospect actually makes more sense if I were trans than it did any other context now. But it was ridiculous. It got to a point, and for the longest time, I thought it was because I was one of the members of the nerd community, and well, we all got picked on a lot. But I was a little bit different with it because, I watched them picking on the girls a lot. And these were my fellow nerds. I shared classes with them. We hung out together. It was our thing. And I happened to be taking martial arts. So I talked to my sensei about it. Turned out when he was younger, he actually was bullied, and that's why he formed his dojo in the first place. And lovely Japanese guy. He was really, really cool. But he sat there one day and decided, he's like, I think I figured out your bullying problem. And he decided to spar with me. About halfway through it, he pulled a below the belt move hard and sat there and looked at me and said, what's the first rule of fighting? Let's go. And I was like, I could have sworn it was you don't hit below the belt. He said, first rule of fighting is there are no rules. You must assume your opponent is trying to kill you. You must defend your life. If you are losing, you will die. What's your incentive to fight fair? And I started defending my classmates. I actually got kicked out of school for bullying for it, which was hilarious. I got tired of the bullies. That's the point of the violence is not the solution, by the way, because I got kicked out of school. I loved school, aside from them. But as an adult who is trans, there were points where I had an old man take off on me with a cane, and I'm not going to fight an old man. I'm just not going to do that. Because I happened to be dressed in such a fashion that he thought I was making sexual deviancy of nuns. I was just wearing a black dress and had a headscarf. Leave me alone. Just because he thought it was something else. And that's the kind of stuff that happens to the trans community regularly. People who don't understand will just flat out assault. No ifs, no ands, no buts, no shit talk. It's what it is. So constantly walking, always having to be ready to duck. That's one of the effects of bullying. Hypervigilance, which is absolutely exhausting. It's like not a state anybody would want to live in. And it's just one of the effects. And it's one of the reasons why I think we need to start teaching people. Help people to understand what is happening. If you're feeling like you're going to do these things to people, what's going on at your home? Start looking at yourself. Are you being bullied at home? Is that why you're bullying elsewhere? What's going on? We can all get along. We can all live peaceably together. We just need to find and identify what it is that scares you about things. Because that's where bully comes from. Fear. No, not really. Just sometimes violence is unavoidable. It happens. Try to make sure both people are standing at the end if it has to. But try to avoid it at all costs. It's not worth it, and it only further drives the entire culture of bullying. Because then one comes back with 6. 6 come back with 20. You end up with riots. It's insanity. Violence begets more violence.
Oh. Sorry, could I have it?
Awesome. Thanks. Hey everyone. How you going? It's good to meet you all. Hey, my story's pretty fresh and raw for me at the moment. I'm so passionate about just sharing awareness around bullying. It's a challenge that I've had in my life for the last couple of years now. Hey, as a kid, I wasn't bullied. I was picked on, I was insulted, I was treated poorly, got into a few fights and that as a kid, but I wouldn't call that bullying. Hey, it was just for me, it was just part of growing up. And then I may have called it bullying, but my experience recently when my son went to high school 2 years ago, my understanding now, bullying's gone to a completely new level. My son's autistic. He's academically, he just takes a little bit more time to process the information, and he just gets some support with that. And this was a point of, a point where he got started to get targeted on with bullying, and little to my awareness, it started to escalate from there. So as a father, I tried to give him some sound advice. Said, don't just walk away, don't retaliate. It'll take care of itself. Talk to a teacher, get some, hang around in safe areas of school. I tried to really give sound advice. Little did I know that that was actually causing part of the problem. Moving away and avoiding it, and that just become a target because the bullies knew that they could pick on him, and there was no repercussions, no accountability for their actions. Talking, and then when he did start talking to the teachers and that, he got targeted even more for being a snitch, and all the words that come up, the manipulation that started escalating further and further from them. So, the last 2 years, it's escalated to the point my son's had knives pulled on him. He's been physically attacked. He's had stuff stolen, all sorts of things shared around the school. It's escalated. I'm not going to share all the stories here. It's been a really confronting experience for myself as a father. And I guess one of the things that really stood out for me is we see the world as we are. We see the world as through our experiences, our beliefs, our values, what we've been through before. And bullying is such a personal experience. No one else has been in your shoes. No one else has experienced the world as you've experienced it. And a lot of people don't really spend the time to really listen to what's going on in someone's world, what's really happening in their world. And the victims of bullying, it is psychologically damaging. It is traumatic. It is confronting every day. You feel alone. You feel like no one can hear you. It's challenging, and I love the work that you're doing, Jonathan, with your posts and the awareness, the podcast, everything you're doing here, brother, because it's creating awareness around this topic that is a bit of a taboo topic. People don't like talking about it. Now, a little while ago, and what turned this around for me, what was a turning point in my whole journey with my son, I was sitting there after the countless stories, countless visits to the school, me trying to get involved and help out. I sat there with my son on a chair, had him in my arms. We're both just crying. And he said, "Dad, I just don't want to be in this world anymore." And for me as a father, I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do. I was just lost. I was like, well, fuck it, if shit's going to change, it needs to start here. It needs to start with me. I can't change anyone else. I can't make anyone else see how important this is to make a change. I'm going to have to fucking stand up and make a difference. And I held my son and I made that promise to him. And I said, mate, we're in this together. We're going to make a difference. And one day at a time, we're just doing our piece. We're talking about it. We're sharing it. I spend the time, I sit with him, I listen, I'm present to my son. I'm there with him. And rather than give him all the answers, rather than try to fix everything that's in his life, I listen. So we're going through the journey at the moment of changing schools, looking at options, keeping physical, listening to good quality music, dancing, having fun, and writing rap lyrics and that, just to connect with my son, to be there with him. And hey, I don't know what the future looks like, but I know that my son is worth fighting for. He's worth fighting for, and just going to share awareness. And there's a lot of other kids and parents out there who are feeling the same. I have conversations with people all the time, and you just don't know where to turn to. Well, it can be fixed, and it starts with us stepping up, speaking out, and communicating, talking about what's going on. I'm not going to go into, the problems that bullies and that have and all that. It's not my place to say. But I know that it starts with us. If we want to make a change, we want to make a difference, it really starts with each and every one of us. Just really acknowledging just how important this is. And if we say we care about people, we need to show it. We need to step up and show it. So, hey, thanks for the opportunity to speak, mate. That's a little short extract of my experience, man. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm from Australia, man. Down under. Yeah.
Thank you. First, Joel, thanks for sharing. When I've worked with, I've worked a lot in the arena of bullying in schools, and one of the things that I have found is that as my son was able to speak up, with some of the other kids that were being bullied. And as they saw that I was defending my son and backing my son up in every which way I could, they began to actually support each other. And I went to their parents and said, this is what's going on. This is what's happening with your child. And unless we can get together and support our children, this is just going to continue to happen. Most parents are scared to get involved because they've been so bullied, they don't know how to stand up. It's something I find is passed generationally quite a bit sometimes. But I noticed that as I engaged with my son and took the steps to make sure he was safe, there was a lot of physical violence involved in the bullying with my son. He was getting beat up daily. It came to the point where I went to the school and I said I went to the school board and said, I have photos, I've taken them to doctors, I will be bringing a lawsuit. And I will be pressing charges against teachers if things don't change. Now, I lived in a town of 750 people, and I grew up in that town. I suffered with severe mental illnesses, so I was not a well-respected person in that town. But I stood up, and it does take, when he finally got old enough and he actually punched a bully in the nose, it stopped. And I don't necessarily agree with that, but I mean, he hit him hard enough and he said, I know you're going to beat the tar out of me, but you're going to go away hurting too. You know, and basically that's what I did with the school board and with the teachers, is I said, I may not win this, but you guys are going to really be hurting because I'm going to put it in every media circle I can find. Anybody, I'm going to post it with all the, everywhere. And that caused a lot of stir for a while. We had to remove my son from school, homeschool, because it became so unsafe. But it didn't stop me from pushing. It didn't stop me from pushing back with the authorities. And that's where we need, as parents, we need the support of other parents. It is a lonely road if you're trying to do it by yourself. And there are, we've had a few mentioned here, there are fantastic groups out there. And you can usually find them even in the smaller communities within a 50-mile radius for support. So that, that's something I recommend to everybody, is get with some physical tangible if you can. If you can't, get online and get the support. But literally, it does take standing up, because if the authorities aren't standing up, then they're just as much of a bully as the kids who are acting it out, or the person who's actually physically acting it out. And they don't realize that. And it might take giving them a good swift kick where, it's connected right straight to the brain to get them to realize, is it going to cause us a lot of problems? Yep, we're going to pay the price. We're going to pay the price. But in the long run, that school system did change. And they actually brought in some good outside help that has really changed that system there. So that's also what I want to share, is there is hope. It can change. My family had to pay the price, but we were already paying it. So I guess that's where I'll leave off. Thanks. And folks, I have to run because I actually have another meeting, but I'm so glad you guys are all here. Gals, I really appreciate every one of you. Thanks so much for being so courageous. That's the word I'd like to pass on to everybody. You're all courageous and you're all worth it, because you're all worthy. So continue going and have a great night.
Yeah. Well, I think I think this is a very, very interesting topic for us to talk about, because it leads into other topics.
Like, for example, bullying for kids can result into them having suicidal thoughts. It can also result into them becoming school shooters. It like we need to fix the culture of bullying because it's not helpful. It's deteriorating our youth. It's deteriorating our society. It's deteriorating everything around you and just causing chaos. And oh, you. Yeah, you know, it's like Gypsy said before, standing up to bullies is something that needs to be done, whether it's by physical force or, you know, there's other ways you can get back at bullies. You can get back at them that way. You can do it in a basically a methodical way. You can get back at them in all different types of ways. But the thing is, if you don't and you let them continue to control you, that's eventually not going to end. It's going to stay the same, and they're going to continue to control you until you fight back. And yes, with my past, I've had plenty a share of bullies in my life, and one of them actually I had my older brother help assist me, and my older brother came out and started a fist fight with this kid because this kid had followed me home from school. He had been harassing me and bullying me all throughout. I think it was like 5th or 6th grade, and then by the time the end of semester came around, I got fed up with it, so I told my older brother, and as family should, he defended me and he chased this kid because this kid followed me home on the bus, took the whole bus, took the same route that I took back, and took the exact stop I went back and just followed right behind me off the bus. And you know, if my brother wasn't there, with my mind state at that point in my life, I probably would have gotten my ass kicked, and it wouldn't have really, you know, taught me a lesson because you should fight your own battles. But at that point, I didn't feel like I was mentally capable of doing it or physically capable of doing it. So I just let it eat away at me. But ever since, you know, that day and I seen my brother fight for me, you know, it just opened my eyes to the fact that we need to stand up to bullies because we don't want kids killing themselves. We don't want kids going around and picking up assault rifles and shooting up their schools. We don't need that stuff. You know, we've had it for so long in our society that it's just become like common to hear about school shootings, and it shouldn't be common. It shouldn't happen at all. You know, school is a place where kids should be able to hang out, socialize, learn in a safe environment where they feel like they're valued and appreciated for being there. That's all I've got to say on the subject. Also, I want to add one more thing before I pass it off. Now that we're on the subject of bullying, some people say different things about it. What do you think, Soup? What is your idea of like who, you know, how it should be fixed? Should the administrators, school administrators be fixing it? Should the parents be fixing it? Or should the kids be fighting for themselves? That's definitely true. Sometimes the bullies are even related to school faculty, so that's why they don't do anything. Not to mention, you have the entire history of our country being whitewashed. That's contributes to a lot of things as well. Why I say like to people, or I try to tell people, if they want to learn about like history of like police brutality and racism and things that basically they're trying to change in schools right now, check social media. Social media will be like your history book for things going on. It's become a report.
Could I just drop in? Yeah, no, that's a good question. Is the involvement and the circles, the cliques, because sometimes, the kid that's bullying is the son of the mayor or something, and nothing going to happen to him. So, there's that issue, but to solve the issue, how do we attack this peacefully and get people to stop preying on those that have sensitive feelings? You know what? Because I got sensitive feelings too, and I get a little butthurt sometimes when somebody's coming at me, and you never know what could happen because you got a kid that's scared, or an adult, an old man or woman, and they're scared. They're feeling a little vulnerable. There's the condition where I myself have not lashed out but defended myself and ended up in court because I was defending myself. And even in high school or whatever, you get bullied and you're like, well, you're in trouble, and you're like, man, the kid was pummeling me, I fucking popped him a couple times, excuse my language, and he's down, I'm up, guy's got a split eye, you get somebody talking some shit and you lose your cool. Maybe you're the bully because you popped him one for mouthing off, but that's the kind of things that happen in life. So you got to be careful who you talk to, and you also got to watch your own back. But getting people like us involved that have had it happen, and for the lady Heather, I'd like to talk to her some more, and I'm sure it would be great to have her on a little longer because she has those questions of how do we solve this problem with her girls. That's something you don't hear of very often, is women having those issues, but it does happen. And there's a lot of things that are whitewashed, as I heard, covered up. It's hidden under the rug because it just doesn't happen. It didn't happen. But there's those of us that can attest to it. And so standing up for it is speaking out and telling the children, not only, I wouldn't want to say, yeah, little Susie's beating up on you, little Johnny, so poke her in the eye, but on the other hand, there's only so much the parent can do. And you don't want to teach your children wrong and say, yeah, that's okay to do that, like in self-defense. But like, there's scenarios where I myself have been popped in the head. Nobody saw it. And I'm like, ow, what the, and they're like, what are you doing? You're making a mockery of my class now. Or, people are looking at you because nobody saw you get punched in the head from somebody behind, and the guy behind you's like, so there's a lot of factors that can play into bullying, because some people do it on the internet. Some people do it in person, face to face, the way, we used to do it when we were kids, when we didn't have the internet. And I don't think we really got a chance to talk about cyber stalking, but to solve the problem is getting involved and talking about it, getting other people involved. Because on the one hand, when I was a kid and, you got beat up, you got beat up. you know, we survived, and hopefully trying to make the world a better place, sharing these stories of, you know, I'm a decent person. I don't go around thumping on somebody, but I do condone it if you need to. Like if they're an asshole and you need to stand up for little Susie, go over and smack them around. You know, I mean, obviously he's got to be of age for those of us that are adults, but just a word of advice. If little Johnny decides to punch you in the face, I don't know about other countries, but I do know in the United States, if little Johnny's under 18 and he punches you, you got all the right to clear his clock. You know, I mean, within reason, but that is a state law here in California, and it is constitutionally upheld that, you know, you got a young man that's beating on you. And the only reason I'm saying this is because I had a young man beating on me, and I had to do things to defend myself. So getting older and being, you know, why was I picked on? Always pick on the big guy, right? I'm not that big. Do I look like a threat? But these are the ways that we solve the problem. We stand up against the bullies. Sometimes it takes a little bit of this, and unfortunately, sometimes it might take one of these. So that's just my 2 cents on it. And maybe we can all talk about it some more in the future.
And that's kind of the philosophy of what my sensei had taught me. Sometimes if you cannot avoid it all, still standing at the end. And sadly, there are some people in this world that literally just do not understand anything else. And that's why I ended up doing what I did in high school. Damn the consequences. You know what it did, though? Showed the other kids that were in the freaks and geeks they could stand up for themselves. The bigger ones protected the smaller ones. Even though I wasn't there to do it, they still got protected. All it took was one of us standing up to the bullies.
Oh, thanks, Soup. You know, just listening, and I, I was doing research while some people were talking, and I've seen that school shootings, and we still have almost 2.5 months left, and we've already passed the record of school shootings in a year since they started keeping the record, which are that data since 2016. And the more I sit here and I look at, because I check if people don't know, there is an archive that is kept for every shooting that has a victim that is either killed or injured. It's called the National Gun Archive. Keeps mass shootings, officer involved shootings, people that are defending themselves, suicides. And it just really trips me out because it's something that I check every day. And I just see the number of shootings, and you go back looking over the years, and somebody that grew up in the streets, you know, as a gangbanger, and just lived that type of life of, I will always believe that if you live by the gun, you die by the gun. And you see so many guns out on the streets. There's more guns out on the streets than there is people. And why is that? And I feel like society has gotten soft. You know, there's so much, you know, especially I was in prison, and where I'm going with this is, you know, with cyberbullying, I call that being a keyboard warrior. You know, and when you were in prison or jail, you know, and you had people that were behind in their cells, but once that door opened, they didn't have that same energy outside of that cell because they knew that there was a difference, that it was going to be more than just words. And that's what I see today is, in today's time is, we sometimes we let words, and I'm not saying that words don't hurt, because they do. I think that a lot of it is we care about people's opinions, and we really shouldn't. Not saying that they don't hurt, but it's like when and I'm only speaking this from an activism point of the shit that I go through on a daily, weekly basis, you know, and I'm sure we all go through it at times. And for me, I just honestly let the shit go, because if a person can't say it to my face, or and I receive death threats all the time, you know, people don't know, we were just firebombed this week. Our Black Lives the Streets, our building was. And it's, to me, it's cowardly. You know, we've gotten to a time where people think that by, oh, if I do violence, you know, people are going to be scared of me. No, that don't really scare me. That just shows to me you're a coward. You know, if you can't talk to a person with respect, if you can't talk to a person with kindness, with compassion, and that's something that me myself is working on, because I feel like there's times where I've been in conversations and maybe I've dominated the conversation, and maybe to effect of not letting the other person get out their feelings. So I do feel like at times that where if you overtake a conversation, that's kind of, you could be bullying to a degree if you're not allowing a person to fully get out the way that they feel, because we all have our own personal feelings. We all have our own personal perspectives in life. And that's something that I really do take when I'm responding to people, regardless if it's in person or if it's on social media or whatever platform, because you never know what another person has experienced, what trauma, what they've seen, what they've went through. And that's why, regardless, now I just go in open-minded to a conversation and just listen to the person, because regardless if maybe I don't find it as disrespectful, I think we should always care about what the other person feels, regardless if we don't find it to be disrespectful. And that's where we can have the power to speak up if everybody is treating everybody the same, if we're all being seen in the same light, and we're all being treated as equals, that means we all should have that same voice and be able to spread that feeling, that emotion of whatever we're having. And that's what I'm seeing, because you don't see a lot of, I don't think enough is being talked about at home, about being able to get out your emotions, to get out, because it's okay to cry. I'll say it like this, I'm a grown-ass man, you know, and I see some of these kids out here, these 16, 14, 15-year-olds, you know, and shit, some of them look like they just need a fucking hug. You know what I'm saying? They're so scared. They think that they got to be that big man. And honestly, that's what a lot of this bullying is somebody that just needs a hug, you know, because they feel like they have to intimidate or make somebody feel less than them. That's just somebody that needs a hug. And that's times of where us as men and women and as community members need to grab one another and hug it out. That doesn't mean that if you want to give another man a hug that you're gay. Doesn't mean that you have gay tendencies. It just means that you have feelings, you have emotions, and that it's a way that you get out your feelings. That's not wrong. It doesn't mean that we should put somebody else down or bully them, because if you can't understand it, then listen, shut up, and learn. Because that's what we're seeing out here is people, for me, the bullying is it's something that either the person doesn't like about themselves or it's about uncomfortable. It's about them being uncomfortable. So I really do appreciate it. Joel, if there's anything that I can do to help in your situation, it's crazy that you're from Australia because I have a child that's in Australia, my youngest. So I think that that's pretty neat. And it's a pleasure to meet you, and I hope we have more interactions. And what time is it actually there in Australia right now?
It's just after midday, mate, over here in Australia.
Well, thank you I know it's late as hell at night there, and thank you for being on, man. I really do appreciate it. No, I did not. Thank you, and I just want to again thank you for everybody being on there. James, Sue, Dora, Dave, Christine, Matthew, Joel, and Heather, especially Heather, because I know that, and I can't wait to really hear more because I think that is something. Her expertise and what she does for a nonprofit is definitely not something that you see every day out in these streets. So I really look forward to hearing from others and the journey and the fights that we all endure every day.
Okay. Thank you, Sue. So I didn't have the best family dynamics growing up. My parents were divorced by the time I was born. So I had an older sister. My parents had two of us, and then my dad went on to have more kids. So when I talk about siblings, it gets confusing to some. But my older sister, my only older sister, talked all the time. She was always a talker, and she had the spotlight all the time. And I never really was given the opportunity to speak up as a kid. You know, I wasn't taught much how to talk, I don't think. And I think that a lot of baby talk went on. And in first grade, I ended up having to take speech class because I couldn't pronounce certain things. And I was really, really super shy. I was terrified in kindergarten because I just really didn't know, what was going on. I feel like there was so many things going on with, my mom in her own life and my older sister that, I didn't get what I needed as far as like being taught how to speak. And so it took a lot. But it, through the years in like grade school, after speech class, I nailed speech class. I got through it great. I didn't need but a few sessions, and that was it. I really just needed someone to sit with me and teach me how to pronounce certain things and get me to actually talk, because that was my thing. I was just quiet, shy, scared. So I only really had one friend a year in each grade. That, it would change every year through grade school. And sixth grade came, and I started having anxiety. And there was a group of girls that I had started hanging out with. I was friends with them. And there were some things that were said and done that I'm not going to talk about, but I ended up not being friends with these girls. And so they ended up, and I think, they came from a bad background. I knew their home life. So I knew that none of these girls were, you know, they weren't brought up in a good way. So of course, you know, it was, I guess, understandable. I don't know if that's the right word, but understandable that they would be, you know, acting out. But this is hard stuff because I haven't talked about this in years. I dealt with it in therapy, but I haven't talked about it in years. So these girls ended up being, you know, I just kind of grew away from them because I didn't feel like it was okay, the things that they did. And I was always taught, no, that you don't do that kind of stuff at your age. And you don't talk like this. You don't, you know, things that they were doing that we should not have been doing at that age. So it was, I don't know if it was, I think they were just mean to me in 6th grade, but by 7th grade, it got real bad. I was followed through the halls between classes. I was cussed at, you know, I was threatened. I was made to be in complete and total fear for my safety and my life. And I remember going to my mom, and, you know, my dad wasn't really too present in my life growing up until I had to go live with him for a year. And that'll come soon here in the story. But I was always taught you don't start a fight. But if you are forced to be in one where someone else is already, you know, like wailing on you, or throws the first punch or something like that and doesn't stop, then you have every right to finish it. But no one ever taught me what that meant or how to do that. So I ended up quitting school. I was having panic attacks for the first time in my life, 11, 12 years old. And so I just basically quit school. It wasn't like a conscious decision. I could not force myself to get up out of bed, get ready for school and go. I couldn't get out the door. I couldn't do it. And at night when I would try to go to sleep, my mom didn't know what to do for me. She tried, you know, my sister had gone to live with my dad. She had gotten a divorce to her second husband by this time. And so it was just her and I. She tried, you know, she did everything she knew how. She recognized the anxiety and panic attacks, thank God, because she'd gone through it herself and read books about it. See, we didn't have like the internet like we do now. We didn't have smartphones. There wasn't Facebook or, you know, none of that. So, but these girls, you know, it was just started out as like a picking on me thing. And I talked to my mom. My mom talked to the principal of the school. She talked to, you know, the staff at the school. She tried, and it only made it worse when these girls would be brought in and like talked to. Like nothing was really getting done. So I literally stopped going to school. I ended up being put on probation and threatened with juvenile hall for a weekend by my probation officer if I didn't make it those last few days of school that we had. I think it was less than a week. And she told me if I did not go, then I realize that she could put me in juvie? And I was like, do it, because I can't. Like, I really can't. And I couldn't speak up for myself, you know? I hadn't learned how to yet. So she didn't end up doing that, thankfully, but I did end up having to go live with my dad. The judge said, oh, well, you know, because my mom had mentioned to my probation officer that maybe she misses her dad. Maybe she needs her dad present in her life, you know, because I didn't know him very well. So, like, I guess that my probation officer told the judge something happened to where they ordered me to go live with my dad. And for a year, I had to go live with my dad, my sister, which I enjoyed being around again. And I had a stepsister at that point that was there, as well as one of my younger brothers, Zach. So there was 4 of us kids, three of us in the house all times. And then my stepmom and my dad worked a lot. But I did get to spend quality time with him every time I would get in trouble, quote unquote, when I would do something like I wasn't supposed to be in contact with my mom without permission. And I would do that because she was right by the school and I could go see her every morning before school. So I would sneak and go see her. Well, I was stupid enough to write in my diary. My stepmom read my diary. And so I got in trouble, got sent to work with my dad. Best experience in my young life. I had so much fun and I worked my butt off and I learned a lot of things and it was bonding time with my dad. So I was really grateful for that. Also, I learned how to think for myself. I didn't have my mom always helping me to think, you know, and like what to do and how to do it and all that. So I kind of was like growing up real fast and I don't regret it. I hated it while it was happening, but I don't regret it. I'm really glad that happened. Now, going back to the bullying, my dad actually took me out back in the summertime and taught me a few moves for like, you know, defending myself. And he literally taught me, and I kid you not, my dad taught me how to, what do you call it? How you grab a hold of someone's, it's something he learned in the military, grab a hold of someone's throat in a way that you, what is it? You guys that are,
pressure point.
Out here. It's something else though that he called it, where you grab onto almost like where the thyroid is, or around that area, and you like pinch, you almost like pinch it, you grip it and you pinch it, and it cuts off. James, you know what I'm talking about? I see you. Oh.
The military that I was trained in the cadets, that's the pressure point. Many of them on the body, and you could make even a guy 10 times your size submit with getting that pressure point.
My dad taught me that it would like make someone pass out if you held it long enough. Yeah, it cuts off like their oxygen. Okay, so I was confronted in the hall and cornered, and I had no choice but to stand up or allow this girl to attack me. And she didn't have backup that day. The other friends that were bullying me, and this was in the junior high hallway, and my locker happened to be right near the corner of the hallway, at the end of the hallway. So she had cornered me one day and pushed me up into the corner, or actually pushed me into the wall. And when I realized I could not get out of it, and by this time there was a whole hallway full of students watching, and I'm terrified. And I'm thinking, my dad told me to fight back, stand up for myself. You cannot keep letting these girls do this to you. And I remember my dad in the back of my head, and I grabbed that girl by her throat, that spot my dad taught me, death grip, whatever it was called, I don't remember. And I put her up in the corner. Like, I cannot even tell you where my strength came from. But I put her, like, slammed her right up into the corner and off the ground in that corner. I was holding her about 1.5 feet off the ground. And I'm just a tiny thing. I was so skinny and tiny. I don't know where the strength came. It must have been adrenaline. I don't know. But I had her up in the corner, and I was holding her there, and her face was turning blue, and she stabbed me with a sharpened pencil she had in her hand in my lip. I have that like between my chin and my lip, I guess. I still have that lead mark to this day. But she stabbed me with her pencil, and I started bleeding. And that's when I realized, oh my God, she's turning blue. And I let go of her. And then there was teachers coming, running up and stuff, and to try to stop it. I got suspended from school, which I was happy about. I didn't care. I hated school. I always hated school. You know, I didn't really fit in, and it wasn't, I don't know that it was anything in particular other than the fact that I was just super shy and not really taught how to speak. It took a lot of years of therapy, you know, and I was put in therapy at 10 years old to start with. So, and that was when my mom was getting divorced. she thought it would be best that I sought therapy. So she put me in therapy. But yeah, so I started learning how to speak, and it took me years and years to get to a point where I would have conversations or talk like I am right now. Like, this is huge for me to talk like this. But I guess, so I ended up having to take 7th grade over again, a second year, obviously, because the first year I just basically missed more days than anything. So with the truancy and stuff like that, I was able to, well, I had to, I was forced to go to school my second year of 7th grade, which is when I had to stick up for myself. And, you know, I feel like under no circumstances is it okay. It's never, ever, 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 ever okay to bully someone. And I feel like parents should teach kids every way out before having to act on violence in return. And I don't know a fix to these problems. I know that a lot of things start at home, and a lot of homes are broken. I wish, you know, I was sharing my stories. I just hope that in sharing what I've been through, maybe something about what I've been through will help. I do know that having gone through the things that I have in life, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I'm proud of who that person is, because I have been through absolute hell with so many different things. It's unreal. Like, I should be dead, and I'm not. I'm still here, and I'm still bitching. So, yeah, I ended up going, I was able to go back to my mom's, go back and live with my mom for 8th grade. And I showed my probation officer by getting on the AV honor roll. So I kicked ass 8th grade. And I was let off probation at 15 years old before my freshman year of high school. And that was liberating. I really, really was happy about that. But then I started dealing with depression along with the, you know, anxiety and panic attacks, which was no fun at all. But I did do better my freshman year. I didn't have the bullies there so much. They, one by one, dropped out of school. They were getting pregnant. They were, you know, they were turning 15, 16 and quitting school. So there was that going for me. I had more friends that I could just, you know, I could walk through the halls and feel confident, and say hi to people and smile and feel, you know, just feel good. That, like, I don't have that threat on me every minute and every second, and I can be open and be myself, and people like me for, you know, being myself, and I have friends being who I am. And that was huge to me. So I really, really, you know, things turned around for the better once these girls were out of my life. The story that I really wanted to tell, I forgot. When I was still in junior high and living at my dad's, it was my second year of 7th grade. And I can't believe I skipped over this, because this is one of the most important parts I wanted to tell. These girls and even some guys were in on this, followed me home from school. And I was not, but like across the river, this was Owasso, small town. But we just lived across the river. I just had to cross the walk bridge from school to, you know, and walk across the street, and through my neighbor's backyard, and I was home at my dad's. And these kids, a group of them, there had to have been 8 to 10 of them. And they jumped me. They took my coat, threw it in the Shiawassee River. They took my book bag and all of my school books. I had homework in every class that night, and they took all my school books. And I know back then we had to pay for all of our school books if they came up missing. So the one girl that I had held up in the hallway, that same girl had jumped me and, you know, knocked me to the ground and held me down on the ground and literally hawked a loogie and spit it in my mouth. How much more sickening and disgusting. And I feel like that's worse than the violence of it, because I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm talking a lot. I see the messages coming through. So that day, I ended up getting home after getting this girl off of me, and they had my, book bag and all that. And my sister was on her way home, but she was home from the high school was further away. And she happened to be walking home that day. So she saw them with my book bag. They had thrown my coat in the river, but she saw them on the bridge with my book bag, and she spoke up and said, "That's my sister's book bag. I'm going to need you to give that to me." And later she got into a fight with an older sister. My sister was a straight A student. She was at the National Honor Society. Like, she was up there. She was huge, big time in school, super smart, and never, ever, ever would get into a fight, and one of the older sisters of one of my bullies got into it with her. And my sister was like, "Oh, hell no," and she fought her. And I remember that day I cried and cried and cried because my sister came home crying. She ruined her favorite shirt. She had blood all over. It was awful. So to have my sister drug into it was, even more hurtful. But I think the resolve came just by being able to be away from those girls, and not having to go to school with them. I ended up quitting school myself my freshman year, went back my junior year after I'd homeschooled, quit again halfway through my junior year, and ended up graduating through homeschooling. But I ended up doing it as hard as it was, and the things that I had to struggle through. And with the bullying, I did end up doing it. So I was really proud of myself when I was able to accomplish that. That meant a lot to me to get my high school diploma through everything that I had struggled through. And then I don't know where I was at before I had to backtrack. So I know that a lot of people are commenting or messaging. So I just know that, it starts at home, with the bullies and the kids that get bullied. It starts at home. What is your background like? What is your family like? What are happening? My bullies, their parents were absent, or they were abusive, or, there were so many circumstances where the parents were messed up. And so I feel like, and me, my mom was a young mother. She was just a teen mom. Her and my dad got married early. They were still basically, they were not even in their 20s. And I think that has a lot to do with it. My mom didn't grow up, learning all the right things that she should have. It was a messed up childhood too. So I don't want to go too far into that either, but I think it's a generational thing. And with me not knowing how to properly deal with things, my emotions, or, be able to speak on those things, all of that matters. When we talk about why is this happening? Why are the kids that are targeted? Why are the bullies the bullies? It goes back to the home and what's going on in their home life. How have they been raised? What's got them to this point? Who hurt them? Because I feel like people who hurt people have been hurt themselves. And when, and they don't know what to do with that, because there's nobody they can go to do, to lead them in that. So I don't know what can be done. I really don't. I feel like the administration in schools needs to do more. I feel like there's every aspect of bringing kids up. Like they say, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, why isn't a village standing up? Why isn't there a village standing up when kids are being bullies or being bullied? I don't like to consider myself a victim. I got out of that a long time ago because, it would just bring me to a point where I would feel sorry for myself. And so, I've come a long way with learning my emotions and learning how to speak. And so I guess I've talked quite a bit now, and it looks like 17 messages while I've been talking. So I think I've said enough. I just hope, something about my story maybe can help someone. And really, I don't know what to do myself about this, but I know that we need to come together, as people, just as people, as humans, come together and do something. I just am not sure what. So there you guys go. Thank you for letting me speak. I'm stronger for it.
Hello, good evening. Thank you all for joining me, and I appreciate all your input. Thank you for what you were talking about, Christine. These are all very serious topics and stuff that everybody's addressed, that we are affected by in Canada and the US and many other places around the world. A lot of you saved a lot of time for me to explain the stuff that I was going to bring up. You hit a lot of the issues that I have issues with. I'm 45 now, so I haven't really experienced very much bullying until the last, I'd say 2 or 3 years. I mean, the last time I was bullied was in high school around, I think I was about 14 or 15. And up here in Canada, people either dropped out by around 15, 16 because the educators have had enough with people's attitudes. And that's one of the things that would force some people out of school was by bullying. And I recall it as a child, and it was pretty typical to be getting into a physical fight almost every day. It was sort of like a hidden little evil culture in the 90s when I grew up here in Western Canada. Pretty much it was like that. If you were challenged by somebody, you would have to physically take this person out at lunchtime or after school. And if you refused, there'd be a whole bunch of people pretty much lined up to kick your ass because they'll be coming after you thinking that you're weak. So I pretty much had to get into a fight at least once a week. I'd have to say maybe twice. But that was a long time ago. Things have changed, and obviously, yeah, you guys have hit a lot of points about the school systems changing things and what are they doing about anti-bullying strategies. And this is beyond the school. There's lots of problems at the school, of course, but we are dealing with bullying within sporting clubs, membership clubs, certain companies and organizations. They have no bullying policy whatsoever. So as some of you noted, that it is, it really is depending on what type of culture there is at home, what type of upbringing you're subjected to. If you agree to it, there could be this crazy ideologies we've all heard about. And people do have family values that judge people based on their success, religion, how many Porsches they have, and how many houses they they may possess and what's in their bank account, and other ones judge others based on wherever they live regionally, or what type of job they have, or anything, and this is the hidden culture that nobody ever wants to talk about. And bullying, when you first talk about it, it sounds like you're talking about kids in school. Yeah, it is in school. But as I mentioned, it's in other sectors. It's within the police, in the organizations, within the military. I experienced it as a cadet. I actually didn't want to enlist for the Canadian Armed Forces in the Navy GI reserves because of the hidden underbelly racism and strange, bizarre, toxic culture that I encountered. And I was only 15 years old. And I was like, okay. And then, they got me to pre-enlist, and I was like, I don't think so. I think I would rather be in a place that's more positive and better run. And that's basically why I didn't serve. And I'm not going to explain that much anymore, because what I really want to talk about is what has happened in the last 2 or 3 years in regards to cyberbullying towards me. I've been lightly attacked, lightly salted and lightly attacked, I'd call it, from who Chaz calls them keyboard warriors, who could never say any of this to us in our faces. So you just need to remember that bullies come in different forms, shapes and sizes, and some of them are cowards, as Chaz said, and I'll agree to that, because that's all they are. They would never say this stuff in any of our faces, and it's better off not taking literal consideration from people that are just, no offense, trash, that just have some random profile that are trying to bully you. Like it's like seeing some random message or something. It means nothing. I'm gonna reflect on what Chaz said. It means nothing. I've got into a few arguments with some of our fellow comrades here, and I don't take it personal. I hope they don't. But we're talking about true bullying, where we're just, encountering people that are spreading misinformation on the internet and talking about other profiles and trying to drag us all through the mud. Me and Soup have went through a episode with somebody. We're not going to mention his name. We're not going to talk about it, but we went through our own case of cyberbullying. If Soup wants to talk about it, he can. But I refuse to give light to irrelevant profiles and people that just don't matter to me. Like, I'm just going to be blunt about it. It's a form of anti-bullying. You need to consider this when people are attempting to bully you, no matter what age. When they're sending you a message or saying this into your face, as one of our comrades said earlier, maybe it's accepted culturally at the home, and I'm not trying to defend the bully, but sometimes they're brought up in this environment where it's acceptable to treat other people this way. So we have to go back to what Christine was talking about. The village is raising each warrior, and we all have to take our accountability in making sure that we're raising all our warriors in a proper, positive way. We're not going to have politics or judgment involved, or shaming, or any of this kind of culture. We have to take a stab and a fight at this, in a non-physical way, with consideration. If somebody's, physically doing something to you, then of course, guys, yeah, put up your nukes, guys. But I never recommend any type of violence. We can do this in a smart way, and we can change the world and the state on Turtle Island in an intellectual way. Because I've said this before, this is our house now. The house is Turtle Island. What's going on? There's some social issues and stuff that we talk about every week. And this one is bullying. And bullying is tied to almost everything. So what are we going to do about it? We're going to talk about it. We're going to educate people. We're going to spread the awareness and educate our children, because I'm a youth soccer coach. I I preach this when we're at the tournaments. You know, we smile when we win the tournament. We smile just as big when we get knocked out, but we have to have integrity. We have to have fun while we're doing it. We're not allowed to bully our opponents. We're not allowed to mock anybody. I demand that we all have fun. Like, let's bring fun back into everything. Sports. Kids should be able to go to school without being bullied in any which way. They should be able to get access to a fair education without all this, bullshit going on. The schools need to do better. The societies and companies need they need to do better, especially when there's no bullying policy within their company. This is a culture. We have to attack it from all ends and express our disapproval of it as a culture on Turtle Island. The only way to put a stop to things is by all of us in consensus talking about it, just like we are tonight. And all of us comrades will continue to talk about this. We'll probably have to do another episode in a couple of months and see what's going on. You know, I'll end it with Alex Jones being canceled and having to pay millions of dollars. You know why? Because he's a liar. You know why? Because he's a bully. So he gets everything he deserves. And I hope it'll put a big example out to all those bullies out there online, especially the ones that are watching me. You ain't going to change me. You're not going to change Dave Moon TV. And you're not going to bully any of my comrades here because we're used to you. And we love you either way. So thank you. And I love all you guys too, especially you guys that are loud like me. I appreciate you.
I'm still trying to wake up and I was trying to fucking listen, but Facebook doesn't work. I don't know what was going on, but I don't know. Right this second, I'm still not completely awake.
Good morning.
Yeah, I would say bullying in school and cyberbullying, especially on my end or my aspect that I've had to deal with, has sucked just because I have a kid with autism. So I could definitely say that schools need to change because of that nonsense. But I don't know. I'm not awake enough to have an actual normal thought.
I just wanted to ask a quick question. Sorry, jumping in. Kids are messing with your child that's autistic? That's not cool. Totally
Yeah,
not cool.
when we lived in Florida and he was in school, it was so bad. But then I moved with him basically to have him in a different school system because it was that horrible that other kids are bullying him and he bit another kid and they wanted him to get in trouble. And I refused. I refused to sign up their write up when he was 5 on it because it wasn't fair. Because I was like, he needs assistance. He's picked on and he won't talk.
That's that's really, it breaks my heart to hear things like that. I have had some instances dealing with I was a ski instructor at age 13, helping out the parents. They had plenty of money. I lived in near Aspen, and the only way for me to get a ski pass for the season, because my mom wasn't working there that year, was that I could work as a ski instructor. And I had a special privilege being that I skied there the year before, knew the ski instructors. Um, this is, by the way, was highly illegal because I was 13. But teaching disabled children was what I did at age 13. And it was so heartwarming to help somebody out more than to hurt them. And, I'm sorry to hear that you've had those circumstances. Just hang in there. And, I don't know if you believe in Jesus, spiritual or what, but comes around, goes around. I work on a karmic value. Um, so thanks for talking to us and telling your story. I'd like to hear more good than bad, but thank you for joining.
Yeah, there's a lot of good to it. That's just the beginning, I could say, of what I've gone through with him. But yeah, not being awake, having thoughts isn't the easiest right now.
How old is he now?
He is 10.
Cool. That's a great age.
Yeah, I guess so.
Does he do sports or anything?
He has just now got into golfing. He's done skiing a little bit now. He's done kayaking.
Well,
But the school he goes to, they're not really as willing to let him on teams and things like that. Like they're starting to be, but it's very difficult since he has a tendency of bolting.
Bolting?
Yep.
Well, when kids treat each other a certain way, sometimes bolting is one of those things we do. I mean, I can relate. Um, but hang in there, and thank you for your time again. just wanted to ask a couple questions. And, it's really sad that parents let children treat other children that way.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, and it's really sad, especially with being on both ends of it and seeing myself go through it and then my kids as well.
Well, that's why I talk about, school policy and, training, not just in police, but training within school boards, and, make it policy to have some sensitivity training of some sort and understand and help out and try to, find ways to de-escalate situations and make it, accountable for all and safe for students to go to school and get the education that they want to have. It shouldn't be, dodging bullets and dodging bullies and stuff like that. It's not appropriate on Turtle Island. We have to do all of our part to change this. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I had a family member that was bullied in school, and I had to help out. So I'm not going to mention who or what, but he or she was being bullied in school, and I had to actually switch schools for them because it was, it was starting to get physical. So in the best interest of the safety of this child, I automatically signed him or her up to another school, and that was the end of it, because safety is number one, and I'm not going to stand by and watch my relatives suffer. I got to do what I got to do, and I did what I had to do, and yeah, I won't regret that at all. If a school is going to allow bullying to happen, then I'm going to do something about it, because that's basically what happened. So I'm not going to get into the incident where what happened. But the main thing is it wasn't a safe place for that kid to go to school. So we got to change the culture. We got to change it hard, and we've got to find our ways to do that. And my favorite thing I always say is how, I don't know. Like, where do we start? Like, it's such a big issue.
I have an idea on exactly that. See, the thing is we all keep looking at how do we fix the system that's broken? How do we fix the system that's broken? The problem is that we're looking at the thing from the wrong angle. It's not a broken system. It's working perfectly, exactly as intended. Both Canadian and American and US school systems were designed by the same people. Anthony Carnegie, JP Morgan, the Ford company, and Henry Ford. These people were the ones who actually designed and built our educational systems. And when discussed on the matter, Carnegie flat out said, this system is designed to, over time, reduce the general intelligence of a population, because we do not want a people who can critically think. We want people who will follow orders and push the buttons. We want workers. The entire system was literally designed around, and bullying is a core element thereof. You need the taskmasters. You got to have somebody who's in charge. The bullies are the perfect people. See, the entire system is designed to produce this entire exact effect and many others. The answer to the question of how do we fix the educational system? Do what we did before it was created. Teach your own damn kids. Take them with you. Learn to teach them at work. Do what you do. Raise your kids. That's why it takes a village, because some work is not suitable for children. Family units stay together. You should have at most like 5 generations in one household. The tribe, the village, everybody working together. And that's something we've lost.
Well, that's what it's like in my household. We kind of all help out with raising relatives. It's a tradition on the res. It's a tradition off the res, and we all have to. I don't know if this makes sense. Grease the wheels and help out whatever way we can, wherever we can, with whatever we can. With I don't know if that makes sense. It's Carl Moore's saying, but we help out wherever we can do it when we have time. And it takes an effort of a village, of many villages, of many people, and we can make the world on Turtle Island way better. It just takes a collective unit to do that. It just really depends on where people's ideologies stand. And what Dora was talking about, it's a cookie cut education system that's just copy paste reference that sits there, and there is a hierarchy system in capitalism. There's the entry level worker and the managers and CEOs and God knows what. But like I said, there's bullying within companies, and we can dig all that up and go look it up and say, look here, but it's a culture. It's everywhere. It's not nowhere. It's in Canada. It's in the US. It's all over the world. It's accepted. It's acknowledged. And I don't acknowledge it. I don't accept it. I don't think it's good for business or work practices. When I coached for 13 years, I won by showing love, and it didn't matter if we won tournaments. It was just love and affection and trying to keep people on time and keep the jerseys clean and make sure all the kids were having a wonderful experience. I didn't care whatever happened. That's what it was all about. And I still talk to these kids to this day, and they're adults. Some of them are still playing. So, and I didn't know that. I was just doing my part to make a childhood experience the best that it can be. And that's my gravy, man. I don't need to get paid for this. And I'll always have that with me, right? It's something you can't buy. It's there. It's solid and it's right in front of you, but you can't buy it. It's love, and that unconditional love, man. We gotta spread it as a disease. Excuse me. Unconditional love and affection, and not shaming and not judging, and accepting everybody, including everybody, and stomping out the other side of the ideology, which is hate, racism, separatism, bullying, etc. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I agree. I did want to throw something else in there. One of the things that helped me get closure in the whole bullying thing, I was 17, and when I was a teenager, we could walk downtown at night, and it was safe. But I ran into my bully one night, and I was with a friend who was younger than me, and she wasn't about to fight. You know, she was scared to death, didn't know what to do. But this girl had said something to me, and I thought, for once in my life, I'm going to turn around and stand up to her, and I did. And I got her and her buddy beat the tar out of me. I literally had my head beat into a brick wall of a building. It was outdoors, so the police even drove by. The cops drove by and watched me get my head beat into a wall, into unconsciousness. And I remember the girl was so scared she was going to get in trouble, and she was like trying to pick me up after, and you know, get me down the sidewalk to go, trying to apologize, like, you weren't the person I was out looking for, and you know, all these ridiculous excuses. But like, I stood up to my bully. I stood up, and I felt so good about that, even though like I probably wasn't even completely all with it after getting my head bashed in. And by the time I got back home, my mom took one look at me and just about flipped out and called an ambulance. But yeah, so I didn't have any long-term damage, thank goodness. But yeah, the police had sent a letter to the two girls that was basically to say, you know, this is an informal PPO type of thing. Like, we're not going to do a restraining order, but if you come in contact with me, you know, again, in any other manner than just running, you know, just past each other in public if you happen to be in public together. But like, I never heard from them again. And I guess, you know, I don't recommend that. But and you know, you don't even have the police helping you in certain situations. There's so many times that they don't even want to help. But yeah, I wanted to put that part in there because that was an important piece of, you know, like the whole bullying thing, and kind of a big part of my closure in it. So I wanted to throw that in there. I did end up later too in abusive relationships because of the upbringing, the bullying, you know, my childhood, and then the bullying, and then I ended up in abusive relationships. So I've worked through all these things in therapy, you know, to no end. It seems like I have therapy nearly every single week, so I'm still in therapy and still working on a lot. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of throw that in there, and yeah, like I feel like we're, oh, what's the thing for it? Beating a dead horse when we don't know what we can do. We can't go into other people's homes and be like, this is how you raise your child. You're not doing it right. You know, we can't do that. So how do we fix it? This is what we need to figure out and really, you know, act on, because we can't, it's only gotten worse now that, you know, with the internet and the cyberbullying, and, you know, there's so much more to it nowadays. Like, it was actually, looking back, it was more simplified then. Now you've got all this whole much bigger mess of things. Okay, it's getting late and I'm having trouble even getting my words out. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in. Oh, and I just, you know, thank you everybody for talking and telling, you know, your stories and the different types of bullying and the different situations that, you know, kids that are autistic and kids that are different, and just all different things, you know, things that play a role in the bullying and the victims of bullying. So thank you, everybody. And thank you, Soup, for having me again.
I feel like everybody should have at least one friend that's willing to go to jail for them. Yeah, that one friend that when you can't fight back, they do. The beat shield. You got to go through me to get to them. Kind of friend. Everybody needs at least one. And they're usually the best huggers, too.
Battle buddy. Definitely a battle buddy is something that I highly recommend for you, Soup. Being out there on the front lines during Occupy and up till now, having a battle buddy is key for sure. Somebody to back you up and hold it down when you can't, or you do the opposite for them. Right.
Well, that's what I like about this place. It's no holds barred, and I could spill my guts out and bleed my heart out in front of all you guys because I feel very comfortable. I feel uncomfortable elsewhere, but I feel very comfortable talking to you guys about these things because it's just a place that I can connect with a lot of people that I can trust, and I can't say that about a lot of people that I'm related to. Even I don't care what they say. I can really feel comfortable here and talk to you guys every Sunday about these issues and bring it up. And this is where the change begins because somebody out there is going to see this and know that a lot of soldiers care. I might even go and dabble around here and ask the new education coordinators within my territory and the territory where I live right now within Cothet. I'm going to ask them, what are you guys doing about the anti-bullying policies within your school districts? I am going to actually ask one of them because one of them's from my tribal nation in my territory. So that'll be my homework tonight and tomorrow is trying to get a hold of these people, which is like dental work, trying to pull teeth. But I'm going to do it and say, what are you guys doing about the anti-bullying in this territory? And yeah, my anti-bullying solution is a little bit of vape, or maybe some what James is showing. A little whiskey won't hurt you, anybody, eh? You guys, thank you guys all for letting me join you guys every night. I've learned so much. I'm gonna replay this back and soak in all this education again because I love to repeat myself. So thank you guys for letting David Allen Moon from Dave Moon TV, joining you from beautiful Cothet territory.
Let's peace and love. Let's do a midnight show or something because that's about the time they'll be online over there in Europe. Something late night.
I'm in. Just message me. I'll wake up.
Welcome to night stew.
It'd be early morning.
Got a healthy dose of crazy stirrings up in this pot tonight.
Everybody, you know what?
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, guys.
Good night.